Shmot Perek Kaf Daled. Vayikach Sefer Habrit Vayikra Ba'aznei Ha'am Vayimru Kol Asher Diber Hashem Naseh V'Nishma. Pasuk Zayin. All that God tells us to do, we will do, and we will listen. This famous utterance becomes a symbol of the selfless trust and blind faith that the people had in God. They agreed to act on the laws of God even before they heard them, goes the popular saying. However, the text itself does not seem to match this grand assumption. First, the people have twice already responded to declarations of Moshe with, "We will do," na'aseh. In chapter 19, Moshe assembles the elders and instructs them on the commandments. Vayinu kol ha'am v'yachdav v'imru kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh vayeshav Moshe et divrei ha'am el Hashem. Pasuk Perek Yutet, Pasuk Chet. All those assembled answered as one, saying, "All that God has spoken, we will do." And Moses brought back the people's word to God. In verse 3 of chapter 24, they have a similar reaction. Vayivo Moshe v'yisaper la'am et kol divrei Hashem v'et kol mishpatim vayan kol am kol echad v'yimru kol adivrim asher diber Hashem na'aseh. Moshe went and repeated to the people all the commandments of God and all the rules, and all the people answered with one voice, saying, "All the things that God has commanded us, we will do." The affirmation of the people is in both of these verses is quite admirable, but it lacks the oomph of "we will do" and "we will listen." The second problem with the popular saying is that the people have already heard many of the commandments before they call this out. Besides the 10 commandments in the previous chapters, the first part of this verse explains outright that Moshe took the record of the covenant and read it aloud to the people. Vayikach Sefer Habrit Vayikra Ba'aznei Ha'am. One explanation is that the Torah is not written in order. This chapter actually takes place earlier in chapter 19. This is another perspective of giving the Torah in the same way that there were multiple perspectives of creation, the flood story earlier in Bereshit. This answer works in many ways, but fails to explain the fact that in this very verse, Moshe reads from the scroll to the people. One possibility is that the addition of nishma, we will listen, signals that law is not static. It requires understanding, interpretation, and engagement, hallmarks of autonomy. Rabbinic tradition turns this into a lifelong process of study, making obedience inseparable from intellectual freedom. This is against Kant's critique of Judaism as heteronomous, namely obedience to external authority and not an autonomous acceptance of the law. The people are saying that they will continue to listen as the law develops and be part of the listening in the future. Another possible answer is that this is sequential. Initially, the people voice their support by blindly saying to Moshe that they will act on what God commands. They then hear the 10 commandments, and in this chapter, again repeat their fealty. Now, Moshe reads from the record of the covenant. Most commentators interpret this as the manuscript of the Torah, covering everything from Genesis until now. This is different from when the people had been given beforehand. Those were just laws. Of course, their response will be, "We will do," to just laws. Now they are given a whole history of the people, in addition to the laws. Their proclamation is twofold. First, a repetition of their oath to follow the commandments. But now they also add an oath to listen and hear the stories of the past. This sets the tone of the essential elements of Judaism: following Hashem's law and listening to the stories of the past. This is why this explanation now is a true affirmation of the people. Na'aseh v'nishma.